The Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and your local cable provider presents Cable Reports. Join us now as Cable Reports brings you up to date on current issues facing the Commonwealth through discussions with your local legislators and other policymakers from across Virginia.
From the General Assembly and the City of Richmond, I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports and the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association, connecting Virginians to their government. And we're pleased to connect you today with a huge agency run by the Secretary of Administration, Nancy Rodrigues. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
She has two of her deputies with her, Rich Slavosky. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be here.
And Sarah Wilson. Good to see you.
Nice to be here. Thank you very much.
Thanks for getting through that traffic jam.
Oh, it was peachy.
Secretary Rodrigues, can you give us an idea of your agency, what it does, and also a little bit about your personal background, training, and experience?
Well, let me start off with a little bit about myself, and that is I am the face of the American dream. English is not my first language. My parents were lucky enough to immigrate to the United States, and it is such an honor to be able to be serving in the cabinet for Governor McAuliffe and to be in charge of the most dynamic of all the secretariats. One of the reasons I'm very excited about being in this role is because I'm overseeing an agency that really touches every single Virginian. And later on today, hopefully you'll be meeting two more of my agency heads that really touch the local governments and the citizens of Virginia a bit more. However, today with me, we have Rich, who oversees the Department of General Services, which, for all intents and purposes, the landlord of Virginia. And then, of course, Sarah, who really makes sure that the people who fills those government buildings are healthy and also the right person for the job. So we are the person that the citizens, if we're doing our jobs correctly, will never really know about us, but at the same point, they know us because they walk into our buildings and they meet our employees.
So you provide the back office, so to speak, for all the state agencies around the state, the backbone and infrastructure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And collectively, just the leadership of my secretariat has close to a century worth of expertise and experience in serving the citizens of Virginia.
That's remarkable. I think that says a lot about the state of Virginia's state agencies, the employees, and the administrations who have been here throughout hundreds of years. No question about that.
And absolutely, as you will hear when they tell their stories, this is really a bipartisan, nonpartisan secretariat. We're just here to serve the people of Virginia.
Well, Rich, let's start with you, Department of General Services, and I know that's a huge responsibility, but you and I were talking earlier about a screening service that you provide. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, one of the divisions that I have under me is the Division of Consolidated Lab Services. We test environmental, biological, chemical, all sorts of services, but we also do newborn screening. For the last 50 years, we've tested every baby that's been born in Virginia for 28 genetic diseases that, if caught at this time in their lives, we're able to cure them. So we've saved 3,000 babies, and if you multiply that by the amount of health care that would have had to been dedicated to them, it's a pretty big savings that we have.
That's amazing. How does it feel being labeled as the landlord of the state of Virginia?
Well, it's fun. I tell my folks that we're entrepreneurs as we go through here, because our return on investment isn't how much money we make, but actually how much money we save the citizens of Virginia. We changed the way we did real estate, as you talked about, the landlord. And so in the last 6 years, we've saved approximately $130 million in hard cash just by changing how we do real estate.
And of course, you've got a huge task that's going to be part of your charge because the General Assembly is about to appropriate a lot of money to do away with this building and replace it with a new one.
It will be a challenge. Since I've been here at Capitol Square, after this project finishes, I think I would have touched about $800 million in renovations just here in the Capital region. It's a building that does have its issues, and we'll see if the building lasts through the end of the session.
And I take it you were intimately involved in the renovation of the Capitol complex.
I led the executive committee, which was the clerk of the House and clerk of the Senate and myself. We met once a week for about 4 years just to make sure that in May of 2007, when the Queen came through, the doors were open and everything was polished and shiny.
And for those who haven't visited it, I would certainly recommend that they make a visit up here to take advantage of it.
It is a National Historic Landmark, and actually the United Nations has pushed it forward as one of the World Heritage Sites. So it'll be alongside the lawn at UVA as well as Monticello as evidence of Thomas Jefferson's architectural talents.
Great. And Sarah, Department of Human Resources, that's a big chunk of activity. You deal with all of the employees throughout the state, do you not?
Yes, sir. We deal with the people that make things happen, get all the programs done, that fill the buildings, and make sure the citizens get the services that they need.
Well, tell me about some of the services that you provide.
One of the big areas, of course, is to attract and retain talent. So most of the management in Virginia is decentralized, but we do run a central Virginia jobs website to try and attract employees or potential employees to apply for jobs at the Commonwealth, and we're always looking for talented new people. So if you've got an interest, come on and sign up. Lots of jobs available.
And I take it that some of those jobs are available online, for example.
Everything is available online. Everything. So please check us out. It's virginiajobs.com. You can find us, and we'd like you to apply for jobs that interest you. You can fill out your resume and post it online and fill it and automatically submit it for multiple jobs. So we just hope you take advantage of the services that are there to find out the diverse jobs that are available all across the Commonwealth. So not only do we do people for hiring and attracting talent, talent management and how they're handled and their career development, but we also handle health care. That's about $1 billion a year in claims.
$1 billion.
$1 billion for the state employees, and that's all branches of government. $1 billion a year. And then we also handle a local choice program. But health benefits obviously is a very big benefit for employees, and that is a very challenging environment, constantly changing, and trying to manage the cost and getting the employees the services that they need is very challenging and very rewarding. So we like that. In addition to that, one of the things we focus on is prevention. So we have a common health program, and that's an example of where we're trying to always get the right balance of whether we insource something or outsource something. The administration of our health plan is outsourced. The administration of our workers' comp, the state employees' workers' comp, is outsourced. But one thing we insourced was the common health program, and we saved $4 million a year by doing it that way. And we have people home-based all across the Commonwealth that deliver services to their agencies and about prevention. And it could be stroke, it could be getting exercise. They send out tips once a week, and they had you doing jumping jacks for every single touchdown during the Super Bowl. So they have fun tips to try and get people engaged. One of the things that we really want to work on this year is trying to increase the participation in common health. We did have an event on stroke last year, and we had the very next week after someone attended that session, they called to tell us that they were in church, and the person next to them was having a heart attack. And she knew it because of the signs that we told her in the session, and she called to let us know how valuable it was to her. And obviously the person, they got him to the hospital right away because of her intervention, and he's doing fine today. So, I mean, I think that we've got some wonderful examples all across the Commonwealth where we can show where it has made a difference. So we do fairness and equity type of things, like if you, we really want to treat people equally and fairly and with dignity and respect. And if you think you're not, we are the people that you would contact to help look into it and to see if what the appropriate actions might be. In addition, we do grievances. So if you think you got a beef and you're not happy with management, there are certain procedures that you can file. and have someone to take a look at it. So we manage a diverse portfolio of businesses within human resources, which keeps everything hopping and really keeps us motivated and excited to try and help our state employees.
Now, you mentioned a choice program. What is that?
Health, the local choice program, not only do we offer the state health plan, we also offer 2 local governments and political subdivisions a different type of health program, and we have over 50,000 people in that.
So, Madam Secretary, how many state employees do you administer to, so to speak, if you know?
I am on a quest to meet as many of them as I can in the next 4 years, but we have over 100,000 state employees. And as Sarah said, we're looking for more. Virginia is on the move. We're looking to be the most friendly business state. As I think later on you will hear from a co-secretary of mine, Maurice Jones, who can talk about that. You've met earlier with Secretary Todd Haymore of Agriculture. So again, we're looking to do what we can to support these other secretariats by providing them healthy, happy employees in safe buildings as well. So again, we're reaching out, and I can also tell you that our governor has done quite a bit of meeting employees personally as well, correct, Sarah?
Yes, he has. It's
Rich?
been very good.
Yes.
Right, and you too.
Well,
we've had her in the common health classes where she's doing exercise at
really?
lunchtime. I loved it. I loved it.
I can tell you a real plus to being Secretary of Administration is I've dropped 20 pounds.
20 pounds.
I will tell you, I call it the Governor McCullough diet, but no, it's you have to showcase. You have to be the example. And one of the things that I'm so thankful for is that you've allowed me to bring in my agency heads today, because I think your viewers will really begin to see just how wonderful we have in terms of our state employees, the enthusiasm and the high energy level that all of the leadership brings to the citizens of Virginia.
I also understand that you were co-chair of the governor's transition team. What was that like?
It was like putting a plane together after takeoff.
Wow.
It was incredible, and quite honestly, true story, I had no intentions of coming with this administration when I became co-chair. However, I came from a background where I had worked with Sarah, Rich, and some of the other agency heads that you'll meet today when I had the honor of serving as Secretary of the State Board of Elections. And I had forgotten how wonderful it was to work with them. Dennis Johnson, Robin, who you'll meet later on, and these two. And it was just an amazing opportunity. And so we got along so well that the governor called me on my birthday and said, I have a special birthday present for you. So, and told me at the time that he was impressed with how we worked together, and he wanted us to continue that in the future. So, again, it's been a wild ride, but the transition team, I'm just going to put in a plug. One of the wonderful things is you're also talking to the man in charge of parking. Parking.
Wow.
Number one issue.
Makes him
Absolutely.
the number one issue, but very quickly, if you're a member of the transition team, you get no pay. That is
no pay. It's purely volunteer work.
It's purely volunteer, to the point where you have to pay for your own parking.
It's a business.
A real revenue producer.
It's a business.
A hard taskmaster.
Cost recovery.
But it is amazing process, and it was just terrific to be able to see that and the dedication of so many volunteers. And again, it's a pressure cooker. So by the time inauguration comes and the General Assembly, you're actually going, oh, it's not quite as bad as the transition team. But it was a delight. And I really would encourage you 4 years from now, if you're looking at this, and put it on your calendar and volunteer to be a member of the transition team, because it is a rewarding experience.
Great, great. We start the transition 2 years ahead of time.
2 years ahead of time.
That's when I put the budget in, so that on the day after election, I meet the electeds, and I hand them keys to fully functional offices with computers, telephones, copy machines, papers, so they can start the transition immediately.
That's interesting, because I believe the governor's transition office was in Old City Hall for a while, was it not?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. Let's talk a little bit more about your responsibility in terms of the buildings throughout the state that the state either owns or leases. Are there environmental issues involved with those buildings?
We always have environmental issues. This building is, I think Senator Watkins so aptly put it, is like a petri dish. It's a building that needs help, and I think tying it back into the common health, the employees we have here will have a much better environment once we take the building down and put a better building up so that it serves the people better.
Now, go ahead.
No, the only thing I was going to, one of the most interesting things, I think, there have been several things, but becoming secretary is just the amount of leases that I've been signing that have come through my office, or DQ reports, and most recently, surplusing state property. One of the issues, and we spoke about Senator Norman earlier, is the Eastern State Hospital and surplusing some of that property. So I think it might be an interesting aspect if you could just tell folks what happens when we surplus, given Eastern State Hospital as an example.
Eastern State Hospital is a little unusual in that when we sell the property, it will go into the Mental Health Trust Fund. So it will assist in paying the settlement with the Department of Justice that we have right there.
That's the settlement that requires the Commonwealth to transition those who are institutionalized into a community setting?
That's correct.
Okay.
And Eastern State property is James City County right next to Williamsburg, very valuable property, so we will be looking to get top dollar for that. And so we have appraisals done for what it is. We'll go out and market it. If James City County wants it for economic development, the law is very clear that we get an appraisal and they can pay full appraisal price. We are looking to maximize whatever return we get on that property to assist in, which is a pretty significant settlement that we have with DOJ.
Right. Now, what about energy efficiency? I know that's a big issue as well, and we have these buildings that more recently constructed have to comply with certain energy efficiency requirements, like LEEDs, I think it's called. Can you explain that to us?
Actually, we have 3 sets of standards that we can use. We can use LEED. There's another group called Green Globes, or we've developed our own based upon LEED and Green Globes to get the best of the best so that we will drive down our energy costs as we go forward. As far as my responsibility for construction as we go throughout the state, we've adopted a new procedure where we put everybody into a pool, and then I'll approve the amount of money that we'll give for every one of those, but I also review every set of plans and specs because I'm the building code official also for anything built on state property except for at William and Mary, University of Virginia and Virginia Tech. They have their own building code officials. But we ensure that whatever we're putting up meets the highest standard we can for energy efficiency.
Now, how have standards, building code standards, energy efficiency evolved over time? You've been around for a while.
It's just incredible, the technology and the materials that are available out there now to assist us in just making very healthy buildings.
Now, is there any truth to the story that painting the tops of buildings white, for example, helps in terms of energy efficiency?
Absolutely. If you paint it black, it will absorb it and it'll become a heat island. If you paint it a lighter color, it will reflect the heat and thereby reduce your cooling costs inside that building.
Now, what about light bulbs? What kind of light bulbs do you use now?
Light bulbs, we're going to LED lights, and actually at our my parking deck on 14th and Main, we have one of the largest photovoltaic fields in Virginia, and we've changed the light bulbs out, so it's going to be a net zero energy building because we've done that there.
Wow, that's wonderful. How many of these LEEDs or green buildings now exist around the state?
Our requirement is that every new building has to meet at least LEED Silver, and they have 3 different or 4 different varieties. So everyone coming on right now has to be. So I would imagine as we're gaining more momentum, we should be coming up to 100 here pretty soon.
Yeah, I recall. I think I've been in one up in Garrisonville. There's one of the rest stops, and I think there's a LEED building.
It is
there.
a LEED building up there.
Great,
yes.
great. So, what's a typical day in the life for you?
Busy. You're fighting the traffic. Come in this morning, an hour and a half. Yes, but I want to come back to talk a little bit about transition.
Please.
Now, this is my 5th governor, and so I've watched a number of transitions, and it's really been wonderful to see the transition this time, where Governor McDonald encouraged all the current employees to help any way they could, and then Governor McAuliffe reached out and asked for help, which made, I think, the smoothest transition I've seen since I've been here. So I wanted to just recognize that, because the seamless transition is very important, because as soon as you come in, the General Assembly's in session and you're rolling, because you've got to go to all the different, look at all the legislation, and of course the legislation is a big issue for the governor's office. But for every state agency too, they're all tracking their own legislation, and they've got people dispatched to all the committees, and then pulling together. Today we looked at, we're putting together information for all the crossover budget information that came in over the weekend. So we were here on Sunday to hear the governor's, or the crossover from the House and the Senate, and their responses to the governor's introduced budget. And so now we're going to share our concerns with the governor's office and the planning and budget department, and see where we go. So that's just the legislative piece. But then, of course, the everyday issues of managing people and managing health care and all of that. It's all about juggling and knowing what the highest priority, because you don't have enough time any day. So it's all about managing the highest priority opportunities at the time and delegating as much as you can, because you can't do everything. So I'm very, very fortunate to have very talented people in our department, and I think all across. I have been very impressed, because I came from the private sector. I used to be general counsel of Signet Bank before I came here, and so that was a very different type of job. And when I came, I got to tell you how impressed I have been about how hardworking and dedicated these state employees are. And when you look at the numbers, we've got what, 11% of the state workforce eligible for retirement, but only 2% of the workforce is retiring.
Only 2%?
Only 2%.
Wow.
So we have an aging workforce, and so knowledge transfer is something that we're very concerned about, and making sure that when somebody does retire, that information, intellectual capital, human capital, is passed on to the next incumbent, or shared, or the job is re-engineered. Every job that comes open, we look at every job to make sure that that's still the right type of job that needs to be filled, and if there isn't something that's a higher priority, things change over time, and we try to be nimble and change with it. So I would say that our department is more a change management business, to helping people cope with change and making sure that we're cost effective and very efficient in how we do things. So it's pretty exciting.
Now, what about the use of technology in terms of training state employees?
We have a learning management system, which is an online learning management system. It's one of the first that any state has had in the entire country, and we're very proud of that. It's been in since, I think, 2008. So we have it. It's a voluntary system, and people come online and put all the mandatory training that employees have to take is online. Gives you automated certifications, etc. It can do career path tracking. It can do a lot of things. It just you just have to learn how to use it. So the the learning management system is very helpful. We developed a time and attendance system in-house. The estimate that we had for the system was $23 million, and we put it together for $700,000. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
So we did that in-house. It saved the citizens money, and it fits the needs of the Commonwealth, and we're going to be able to adapt and be nimble when and if changes in the law occur. So we'll be the #1 priority, because it's run by our team. So it came in on time and on budget. Let's write that down. On time and on budget. Yes. Now, one of the challenges we do have, and we hope that is addressed in and it is addressed in this budget, is our legacy system. It went online in 1978.
1978?
And the one person that administers it is still there, and he's eligible for retirement, which means it's very risky for me. But it's shared on another, it's on a big, we're a very small piece of a Unisys box, and the other agency is migrating off that. And so we're trying to make sure that we come off at the same time they do to manage the cost to the Commonwealth so that we don't have any lag pay that would go with that. So we're trying to modernize, not change anything. We're just trying to get it off that box. And if we're going to get off that box for a change anyway, we're going to bring it to a current technology. So we're really excited about that.
Great.
So I'm looking forward to that to be on time and on budget.
Great. I want to go back to Rich for a minute or so. We've got about 2 minutes left. I want you to have the last word before we leave. But talk to us about fleet management, because you've got to have an awful lot of cars, vans, and trucks out there.
We have about 6,000. We are heavily into alternative fuels. We put a contract out to encourage folks to use either propane or liquid natural gas. And actually, we've got a great success story here in Richmond where we partnered with the City of Richmond, GRTC, and the state to set up a propane fueling site as well as an LNG site. So collaboratively, we have got the fueling site up and running. My mail trucks run on propane, and we just think it's very successful. But we're also driving the cost down to where now it costs us about 4 cents a mile to operate. If you include gas in that, it's probably one of the lowest rates for any state in the United States.
What about other goods and services that you're able to leverage your size in order, excuse me, to save money for taxpayers?
We have the electronic system. It's probably the best in the world. Scotland captures.
Pretty proud of that, Rich.
Scotland captures about 35% of its spend. We capture about 95% of our spend. It allows us to do the analytics to see what we buy, so we can leverage those that buying power and drive the cost down. Our estimate is we save, because of this system, about $40 million a year. And as I said before, general services is all about saving money.
Wow. So what are the bulk of the phone calls you've gotten for your first month about? What kinds of issues and concerns have people raised with you?
Fortunately, it's telling me what a great staff I have.
Good.
So I can tell you, you have seen evidence of this today. I mean, it's just tremendous to be able to wake up in the morning and come and be surrounded with the high energy, the dedication. Literally, I would say 90% of my calls are to convey to me how much they appreciate the work that is done by the folks in my agency.
Great. Well, we're going to leave it there. We're so pleased you were able to join us, Madam Secretary Nancy Rodrigues, Rich Slovoski, Sarah Wilson. Good to see you all. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association, connecting Virginians to their government. Until next time, I'm Woody Evans. Mm-hmm.